So Arborescent started as small packets of poetic impulses. Really, they were. I really just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and then somehow these small little pieces, these almost like language puzzles, came together, and from that sparked a character or a person that I wanted to actually pursue, and then I just continued to pursue that person until they became until they became flesh. Really, I always used to think about like the act of fiction as a sort of illusion, as some kind of you put words on a page, and a person reads them, and that's the sort of magic trick, right? All you're trying to do is trying to trick them into believing that there's a person there, but actually you have to trick yourself, or at least I have had to trick myself into believing that this is an actual person, and not only that, but feeling really invested in their lives. And then once I was invested in their lives, literally everything started to accumulate. And then the story came together almost, well, the story came together forced. I forced the story together because I knew that all three of these pieces needed to work together. But essentially, I had to force these people to kind of coexist, and that's what became the book.
I like that image. Actually, it's like
Be friends.
what's your daily writing routine
So I don't necessarily write every day, but I write every second day or third day. And the interesting part is that I think about writing every single day. So I guess I am writing every day. I'm always taking notes. I'm always getting little bits of information and or even poetic phrases, and I'm putting them down because just for the day or the time when I actually have the ability to write. So when I do have that moment of time where I can write, I literally just will sit down and sometimes free write. It's very random. The word there's no rhyme or reason. Literally, they're just words that sound nice, and from that sound creates a syllogism that then emerges into characters, maybe. It emerges into art. There
you go.
It's art.
Let's see. Lursalai comments that you've knit together Asian and Western traditions of the fantastic. How do you respond to that? And does your cultural upbringing and diverse heritage inform the way you developed your characters and some of their experiences? That's a big question.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as a first generation immigrant of Chinese and French background, so my father is from France and my mother's from China. I suppose that really the way in which it informed my writing is that it made it so that it was impossible to write the sort of straight-laced, stereotypical white male narrator. And I had always tried, like, I mean, I didn't do this purposely, but growing up in Western society, those are the characters that you see, those are the heroes of the story, and so you just naturally rewrite those types of characters or those types of people. Once it was shown to me that I could write characters who were more myself, right, and more kind of indicative of what I have experienced, it broke open everything that I wrote. It made everything much more visceral, beautiful, streamlined, and so when you're looking at Arborescent, for example, you'll see that almost all the characters, their understanding of their heritage and their understanding of their culture and their is diluted, and is mixed up, and they don't quite know how to separate the two because they're overlapped, almost palimpsestuously. Palimpsestuously. It's a word that I made up. But almost like a palimpsest, right? In the fact that you can't really separate the two. They are one part and parcel of each other, much like a Rubens vase, right? You can only they're one and the same image.
The word arborescent, beside its literal meaning as being tree-like, holds a place in continental philosophy, in particular in Deleuze and Guattari's work. Can you speak a little about what that word means to you and how this manifests in the novel itself?
So Arborescent comes from Deleuze and Guattari. The reason why I used it was really because I like the word, I like the sound, right? And second of all, because the way in which Deleuze and Guattari describe the concept of arborescence is for me, it tickles me. It's kind of funny because they have so much hate for this term because it literally becomes symbolic of all other symbolism that is part of a hegemonic structure that dictates the way in which we think about the world, right? So, for example, when we think about arborescence or tree-like structures, they actually symbolize every aspect of our lives, from our veins to our institutions and hierarchical structures to our genealogy. And the reason why these types of structures do work for us is because symbolically we can understand them. But do they work in the best way possible? And I think that's what the Deleuze and Guattari are trying to get at, is that these symbolic structures actually have much more influence and much more power over the way in which we think about the world than we would otherwise like to admit. And so arborescence, and naming the book Arborescent, is one little bit pretentious. It's pretty fucking pretentious to name it after a concept of a continental philosopher, but at the same time, it is also very textual and also playful, because literally it's just about a revision of symbolic structures. That's about it.
That's it. That's
Bah!
it.
Take that!